Welcome, Ged, to the Recruitment Marketing and Sales podcast. And it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today. Now, I can sort of say a little bit about you and your background, but really, you do a much better job of it. So, Ged Walsh is the MD of Everpool, and today we are going to be talking about, I guess, your experiences, Ged, of building and growing a business. But before we get into that detail, if you could, perhaps just introduce yourself, just share a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you arrived at Everpool with our listeners.
Okay. Well, for my sins, I've been in recruitment for 25 years now.
You don't
Before
look that
that,
old.
I was in... Sorry?
You don't look that old.
No, but, before that, I had a career in retail. So I was retail area management and FMCG, and I was also worked at head office for George Davis. So mainly retail and retail background. And I decided to go into retail recruitment in 1999. Which I did for a year part-time. And whilst I was in the process of setting up a catering business, because I'd moved away from Asda, where I was a regional manager on clothing and footwear for the hypermarkets, and that was taken off. So when I went into a recruitment business, I was actually starting recruiting clothing and footwear managers for Asda, and then I built new business onto the back of that. And I was only doing it part-time at first, but I built 160K in 10 months. So I thought, actually, this could be just as lucrative, if not more lucrative, than the catering business. So I decided to move away from that business and set up Imagine Recruitment, which was a retail recruitment business. I had two business partners, and we set that up from scratch, then turned over 2.5 million with 30 people until 2005. The business then, leveled out a bit, but dived in 2008 when the recession hit. Right. So I then set up the business with a legal business. Had a couple of other business, and we were a legal recruitment business, which was okay and trundled along, but their vision was different than mine. And I decided to go into business with a doctor in terms of a health and social care recruitment business, turn that recruitment business round to a strong performing business. Decided to part company with that director and moved away, and then set up a health and social care permanent division in a big temporary business called Meridian Business Support. Built that desk from nothing, made, £2 million worth of sales and £866,000 worth of profit, which was a high margin, did really well. There was a management buyout, the owner sold his shares, and him and I bought mine, and bought my business, and that's how I came and arrived as the MD of Everpool Recruitment. So that's how I've got here.
And so
hopefully that wasn't too long.
No, it wasn't. And it's really interesting because, there were a couple of parts of your journey that I probably not realised before. And I guess it just really adds to today's conversation because, you've got a huge amount of experience of starting businesses and building them and growing them. And so I'm sure, over the years, you have seen and experienced many challenges. So, when you think about, let's say, your latest and current venture with Everpool, you've gone from smaller businesses, SMEs, to kind of like a larger SME, now, back to a smaller SME. So how did you establish with Everpool what its unique value proposition was going to be? Because, you've had all these different businesses, you'll have learned so much along the way. What did you decide that you wanted to bring with you into Everpool?
Well, I think in the current marketplace, recruitment's changed dramatically since I started in 1999, and it's quality of service, really. People buy from people. I think there's lots of work out there that will always be given out to agency, but we're not an agency, we're a consultancy because we're different. And, I change my own people's lives and I make a difference. And that's what I wanted to set up, to be something different to our people who came into an environment where they had freedom and trust. And, I'll go on to speak about our values later, but, from a USP perspective, if we change people's lives and therefore we change, we work with our candidates and we offer them a premium service and that we can give them something that then changes their lives, ultimately that will impact our clients from, a way of working, but also from a commercial bottom line perspective, which should impact and change their lives really. So it's given, having a mission statement to be an ethical and outstanding permanent recruitment services, which delights our customers by motivating and inspiring our colleagues to be a leading recruiter that offers more than just, have you got any jobs because we're an agency, because recruitment's not like that anymore. And we have to talk about a proposition where a partnership becomes mutually beneficial. And we only want to work with clients where we can add value. Our values align and we work in tandem really.
So I guess in terms of those, those initial founding strategies, it's very much about getting clarity on that vision, and then everything can sort of stems and flows from that, because what you've described is having that vision of changing lives, both your team members, clients, candidates, making an impact there. But then I suppose it's about, well, what are the values that underpin that? And so how have you built on that then in terms of, I suppose, recruiting a team that ties in with that?
When we took an initial team and we wanted to develop that team, I think, what is it people want when they want to be employed? I think COVID potentially changed that, but flexibility has dramatically changed how people work. I mean, there's some people who work with us who have different hobbies or extra income, and that's fine. How does that work, and can we fit them in? Well, if their forte is doing something that we like, that they're really good at for us, and they can do it for somebody else, then why not? What hours would you like? Where would you like to work? What would you like to wear? So all of these, benefits, soft benefits and hard benefits, start when you want, finish when you want, work from home when you want. If you're in the office and, it's depending on what role and it suits you, then fine. And there'll be certain times when you need to be in the office, be there for your clients when they need. So I think it's about, getting our people that when we take them on, that they live and breathe our company values, and which is integrity, inclusivity, respect, trust. We give people trust. We treat them like adults. If you give people trust and you treat them like adults, then that should create accountability and responsibility, because, I don't want to know whether they're going to the dentist or the doctors. If they're not well and they want to tell me that, that's great, and we can help and support them. But, if they want to go out, get something to eat or go to the toilet, they certainly don't need to tell me. If they want to go and pick the kids up for school, if they've got kids, or take the dog for a walk, or walk around the block, or, go to the laundrette for an hour, whatever it is, I don't need to know. Because for me, if you trust your people and we all work together from an element of community ethos, and I know it's a business, but if we share and live the same values and we can talk to each other in the right way with the right behaviours, hopefully we should have a chance with our clients.
Yes. No, absolutely. And in terms of you introduced their sort of behaviours, how did you go from, well, these are our values, to, well, these are the behaviours that will bring those values alive? And how have you kept that, or how do you keep that alive in the business, so that you've got that alignment of behaviours?
Yeah, and I think it's about working together. And, we've got steps that we do from a business development perspective, to how we go and get vacancies, to, how we act and conduct ourselves when we get vacancies. So recruiters are often Machiavellian and out for themselves, because it's a commercial, it's based on commission, isn't it? A lot of it, and it's sales. So, and there's some entrepreneurial skills in recruiters. And I think it's, if you build a continuous, harmonious relationship constantly together with your consultants who'll work together. So, we have a structure. If somebody brings in accounting, and they're delivering on it really well, but they need help and support from a consultant perspective, they'll get a percentage, the account manager will get a percentage, or they might need some resource support, so we'll put that in, and the resourcer will get a payment for resource, and the account manager will then take on the prep of the candidate, and they'll get a payment, and the business will get a section of that commission because it's paid for the resourcer. So they can work on each other's vacancies, because if you bring a client in and deliver 5 vacancies and they want you to deliver another 10 and it's on a monthly basis, well, if you're only capable of doing 5, manage the other 10 as the account manager, get a certain percentage for it and work together instead of going, these are mine and no one else can work them. How do you service your client if the client wants more?
Absolutely.
So it's about adopting that posture and culture that we can work together. And when people realise that, it opens the floodgates of around collaboration and how we act and behave together, really.
Yeah, and it's interesting because on a previous conversation, I think Howard Greenwood was talking very much, around the same principles of, the power of building a team, and it's not about individuals. The power comes from getting those individuals together, operating as a team, and living the values and really walking the same talk with the behaviours. Now, as you've been building Everpool, I guess and it's been. How many years has it been now? So 3-4 years?
Yeah, November 21. So it's nearly 3 years.
3 years, isn't it? And of course, that you set Everpool up at a time when, so end of 21, we were coming out of COVID, but there'd been such rapid developments with technology as a result of COVID. I mean, how have you, I guess, approached the technology piece in the business? Because there's so much tech.
Yeah, and it's digital transformation, as you may call it. And, does AI take over us, or, do we, if we know AI, then maybe it won't take over us. So, artificial intelligence has come into it. You need a CRM that works. And, you need one that everybody wants to use and is efficient. So I think ways of working and efficiencies and systems will always be there, whether you had a card system or a microfiche or teletext or whatever. I know, because I'm old, I can talk about them things.
You're going back a bit there with your
mic. Yeah, well, that shows I'm old. And then, you get into what is efficient. So, there's external things that you can use. You can use lead generation companies. You can use different types of email and formats, your MailChimp. And so it's having a look at the tools that are out there and saying, well, what works right for the business? But then some of that flips back to marketing, doesn't it? How are you branding your business? How are you marketing your business? And what functions are you using? So it all seems to intertwine because, to be service with a difference, we've got to have people who've got their own personal brands within our brands. Yeah. And we've got to be on LinkedIn, and we've got to be out there in the marketplace talking about our story and our brand. And I know that's not digital transformation, but actually I think it is. That is digitally transformed because it's online, it's on links. We've set up a website quite fast in 2021 when we moved. It was too quick. We didn't put enough into it. We've revamped that website now, and we're still ongoing working on that website. So again, your website is digital. People go to your website. Your reviews online on Google reviews are digital. So there's a lot of transformation that happens that can make you more efficient. I do think people buy from people, but it's how do you get to the people? How do you manage the people? How do you service the people? And that can all be through, making sure the CRM is used properly. And yes, you'll use Chat GPT and you'll use AI, and, we're still ongoing with looking into that. And how do you make the business more efficient? But I think, recruitment business is about people buying from people. And I think you'll always have people there. The digital transformation around it can make it smarter rather than harder. Listen, we all work hard, but, in perm recruitment, you can work hard, but not make many placements or not make a lot of money but you worked hard. But that doesn't really mean that. You have to be smart. You have to be efficient. And you have to be digitally transformed.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of like, having the tech there, as you say, making sure that people understand and are using it. I know that you're transitioning CRMs at the minute, and you've got a real focus on making sure that the team really know how to get the best out of that, because it's dead easy, isn't it, to spend on tech and then, like many of us, I've got a new kind of like digital fit watch type of thing, and at the minute I'm probably on at 20% of capability of using all the functionality, but I want to know how I can use the rest of it. And tech's all the same, isn't it? So often you hear people say, well, we only use X amount of what functionality it's got. And I guess really it's about, the reason why you've moved CRM is because you want a simpler system, but you want a system that everybody's going to be more confident using as well.
Yeah.
So
because the one we went for was quite big and there was too much on it, and I don't think we were set up as fast as we needed to be for it, and maybe we needed more training and they weren't comfortable with it. So this one has got to be effective and has got to land really.
Yes. And provided people are using it properly, then it will do its job, won't it? Something that you mentioned though right at the beginning was, in terms of flexibility, something that you said was that for you it wasn't necessarily about some of the classic KPIs and everything, and yet obviously you're a shrewd businessman. It's about people performing and delivering results. So how have you approached the KPI conversation? Because some people are still very focused on it, and some they've like thrown it out the door in a way.
Yeah, and I think KPIs will always come through service. It depends. First of all, you can have 10 agencies for working for a client at 10%. What's the point for the client? Never mind the agency. So I think class of client is important. Why do you want to work together? Because if this work is going to be given out by a business to an agency or a consultancy, well, it's about what service did they get and who fills it. So, candidate management is key. So we work off ratios. We work off ratios on every account. Our average ratio is 1:2. I think the industry average in recruitment is 5.5. It fluctuates between 4.5 and 6.5. I think the average probably comes out to 5.5, but for every 2 candidates we send, one gets offered, accepted, and starts. And that's how we work. Because what we do is we, shortlist, and we do at the base from a recruitment or an advertising or a networking or a headhunting or a search and selection perspective. We get an assignment on, we might have a list of 70, and we'll have got them through various different methods, whether that's CRM or or networking or advertising or response handling. And then we'll narrow that down and we'll speak to 20 and we'll say, there's 4 vacancies at this level with this company, but we're shortlisted. Have a look at the business. We'll do an in-depth screening for 40 minutes with the candidate. We'll find out what the candidate wants and does it match. And if it doesn't match, then we won't offer them it. If it matches, we'll send them some info, get them to do some work, have a look at doing some more in-depth screening, telephone interview, and are they right and do they really want to go forward? Because in this marketplace, you will have maybe candidates who, because there's more vacancies than candidates for the first time ever since 1971, I think, since the statistics were recorded. Candidate is king and has a choice. So what we need to do on behalf of our clients is stop sending them candidates who really don't want the job, but that's down to our consultants and our ways of working. So if our consultants and our ways of working, if we're saying to the candidate, look, it's important that this is your livelihood. We don't mind which job you take or how many you apply for, but you've got to do the best thing for you. So don't worry if it's not us. It's not a problem. You'll be on our database. We can come to you in 6, 12, 18 months' time. We might ring you up and offer you, something that suits you. Or our job role might be the right one for you. So don't worry if it's not, but just let us know at any time. Because if we've got 4 candidates to send for these 2 roles to our client and we're shortlisting 4, if you make our shortlist, then that'd be great to send you. But if not, don't worry.
Yeah.
And I think most people don't want to do that because they're scared of losing the candidate, or they might have a candidate, but you might as well have a candidate who's interested rather than one who
Yeah.
isn't. So I
Absolutely.
think tracking candidate sent, invited to interview,
Mm.
attended,
Yeah.
offered,
Yeah.
accepted,
Mm.
started, and retained is key in-house KPIs that we work to. And
Right.
everybody will track that with every client on a monthly basis.
Mm.
So if you've got a ratio of 1 in 6 with a client, why is that? What are we doing that could be different? Or
Yes.
actually, what do we need from the client to ensure that it's different?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if you've got a ratio of 1 in 2 and you're making 10 placements a month with that client and you're spending 40% of your time, on the other 60% of your time, you've got 10 vacancies, but you're only making 2 placements. Why?
Mm.
And they're the
Yeah.
type of things you can go back to your client with. So
Yeah.
I think a candidate management document, a tracking document, and a client tracker is
Mm.
really key.
Mm.
Because, we speak to clients and they go, well, they're just busy, send me some CVs. Well, do us a favor, can we really go through a detailed job order?
Yeah.
Because we might
First.
send you some CVs, but I also need to know, is there a driver? What's the benefits? Is the
Mm.
flexibility? What does the home working policy look like? Is it 2 days a week, 3 days a week? If
Mm.
you add somebody with the 4 key aspects of the criteria, if there was one of them things that you didn't have to add, but you had the other 3, what would that look
Mm.
like? If I
Yeah.
get someone at 50K when you only want to pay 48, would you want me to send them? Wouldn't you want me to send them?
Mm.
What type of culture? What type of behaviors? These are your values. Do you
Yeah.
interview to your values? How does that work? What's the process? Tell me what your recruitment process is, because if there's a third stage with a director and it's sign off, and we don't tell that to the candidates, and they come in to see you at second stage and you like them, they might have an offer from another competitor down the road who have made them an offer, and we're still waiting for them to see your MD. And
Yeah.
you think that's really important, but we haven't told the candidate that because you haven't said it's part of the process. So we
Mm.
haven't drawn that information out of you, but that's really key. So that's class of client for me. But our clients don't always understand. So it's how we get them to understand why we're doing that on their behalf.
And I guess as well that what for me that's an example of is something that you mentioned earlier, which is about Everpool is about the quality of the service. Yeah, it's about changing lives, but it's about how you do that is through the quality of the service. And so if the client is willing to invest the time to give you the level of detailed brief that you were talking about there, that brief then allows your team members to go through, because really what you're saying is the KPI process, what you're measuring really is what's the quality of the service that's delivering the end result of the ideal, 2 CVs being put forward and then one candidate's getting placed. So your KPIs, in a way, what I'm hearing is that they really are around getting the quality of service and the quality of client and candidate experience, aren't they?
Yeah,
That
both
that's
sides.
that's what that's kind of like what I'm hearing, which really I hadn't really thought about that when you've talked about, because you're quite passionate about the quality of the service. Now, thinking then about clients, how do you manage that sort of client relationship? Because as companies, we can invest a huge amount of time acquiring clients, and companies might work a couple of recruiting projects with that client, and then there's a gap because they're not recruiting, and then we can sometimes fall into that trap of assuming that client will come back to us because they've had a great experience, they know what we do, so when they're ready they'll come back. But that doesn't always happen. So what do you do? What do you have in place to manage that client relationship so that actually they are always coming back?
Yeah, I think it's about living and understanding what does the client want, and it's working to their values, and knowing their business, being an extension and an arm of their brand, and having their brand integrity uppermost in our thoughts at all times. And you've got to be different than your competitors. What do your competitors do that your clients don't like that you can do better? And it's about the partnership and, regular reviews and regular meetings. We talk about, well, what's your labour turnover? If it's 40%, what within your marketplace is average labour turnover? Well, that might be 34%. So why is that? Why do people leave you? Why do people want to work for you? Let's talk about that, which most recruiters don't do. What are your pain points? Where's your areas of growth? What's your strategy for your growth in the next 3 to 5 years? Why should a candidate come and work for you? Give me 5 real reasons and let's sell them, because we do it is about selling your business. It is about your brand. So if we understand your pain and pressure points and areas of concern, but areas for growth, let's be able to talk to the candidate about what you're onboarding like. How do you induct? How do you train? Who oversees that training? What how do operations interface with HR? When do your directors get involved? When do your decision makers get involved? I mean, I often sometimes I speak to, clients or account managers in here who say, I've spoken to HR and they've said the directive said this. And I'll say, why aren't we speaking to the directors? And they'll say, well, the directors don't speak to recruiters. And I'll say, why aren't the directors serious about recruitment? Because people's the core base value of their business. So why aren't we getting the directors to be? I'm sure the directors do care about the people who they take on. Yeah. So why can't we go back to HR and to the directors and say, shall we have a chat? Yeah, because this is really important. Yeah. So the onboarding, the induction, the training, the retention is key, but we have to be talking to the clients about that before we start the recruitment. Because I want to know how you're onboarded and how many documents you need and what that consists of. Yeah. And I want to know when the training starts and what the package is like and where it is and what it consists of. And is it 1 week? Is it 4 weeks? Who's it with? And I think that's key. So for me, that's part of your job order. But people who run the businesses, they know their business inside and they know what they want. But they don't necessarily always know what's going on outside, and we should be their eyes and ears because we're experts within their marketplace. Yeah. But if they see us as a necessary evil or the devil that brings them something that they don't really want, then we need to get them to see it. It's not necessarily down to them; it's down to us to get them to see us. Well, actually, we can talk to them about the marketplace. We can talk to them about their competitors. We can talk to them about what's in the marketplace and actually what the marketplace wants. It might be salary, it might be benefits, it might be soft benefits, it might be hard benefits, it might be why they will come and join you. It might be why they wouldn't come and join you unless you've got this. And I think that's, long-term investment in a mutually exclusive, beneficial partnership with a tailored solution to each client and not one size fits all. So, some companies might want a telephone interview initially, followed by a Teams interview, followed by a face-to-face with the sign-off and the director. Somebody else might want an assessment centre because that suits, so we need to add value and we should be part of the interview and the assessment centre, the recruitment, and we can add value around that type of service really, because I think that's important.
Well, and it's interesting, is it? Because through everything that you've described there, in a way, if people are willing to invest that time for you to take that level of brief and ask those more deep, penetrating questions to really understand the business and, what their plans are and everything, that information essentially allows you to do a much better job of profiling that business, selling that role, but actually, helping them, I guess, showcase themselves and why people should go and work for their business. So that time investment enables you to really help them sell themselves better, doesn't it? It's not just about filling a role or somebody, backfilling or, yes, they might be expanding, so we need X number of people. It's about so much more than that, isn't it? It's about how you go about doing that and how you make their lives easier, but how you showcase them in a way. So it's as I'm talking it out loud now. It's for me what you've described is how you are on that mission in a way to move away from that transactional way of recruiting to very much that strategic, that partnership way of working. I think that's that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. And, it's got to be a partnership. So if it's not a partnership, and I don't, we've got to see and understand what does a client need. Sometimes a client doesn't always know what they need. Because they don't see, as they see it, insular and not external. And if we know the marketplace, then, it's finding the right people from a culture and a behavior perspective is key. So I think if you align to the client's values and understand what values the client has and go out and get them people and explain what the values are and explain that they may get interviewed around their values from a competency-based perspective, then I think that's key as well.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you are, you've got a big team. You're a busy MD, spinning multiple plates. How do you manage your time?
Because quite easily, really.
Oh, go for it.
Because pressure is a privilege in my position. So
it's a great quote from Billie Jean King. That.
Yeah, that's great quote. That somebody told me that the other day. They know what they're talking about. Them people. So if you enjoy it, if why is work here and life is here, you balance your time. If you're enjoying it, it's all in this circle here, and doing anything extra, if it's balanced, it is easy to do. Really, it's it's just part of my role that I enjoy. So I don't really understand this work-life balance conversation. I do, because I get people don't want burnout today. But if it's something to do recruitment, you've got to enjoy it. And I'll say to my account manager, my senior people within my business, if you don't enjoy it, you shouldn't really do it. And if you enjoy it, why can't you be balanced around it? Because you don't have to work every hour God sends. You have to be really smart. And if you're smart and efficient and you are dealing with people and you have the right conversations, you can lessen your time that you spend. You don't need to do 60, 70 hours a week. But if you want to do 60 hours a week and you enjoy it and you've sorted out your family and your own personal life, and it's not a pressure and it's more of an enjoyment or a privilege, as you told me, then I don't see it being. I don't. In a way, it's a strange sort of question for me because I enjoy it, so I don't need to balance it because it's balanced.
Yes, well, and I think you, as you say, I think it's an individual thing. For me, I think I'm with you in that. What I do. It's my life. There are multiple parts of my life, but what I do is a huge part of it because I love it. And so if I'll be on a Zoom call tonight myself, let's say receiving, input and learning and everything. But I do that because I love it. And I do it at a weekend because I love it. But everybody,
and I'll go on a holiday, and people say, well, "Why are you taking your laptop?" And I'll go because I wouldn't enjoy my holiday if I didn't. So if I'm on a couple of emails and a couple of phone calls, and then I can go and enjoy my holiday time with the family, then everyone's a winner. But I haven't got my laptop. I'd be a nightmare on holiday. I'd be bouncing off the walls.
Oh dear. So I mean, let's sort of say that there are a lot of companies that have been set up in recent years. Yours is one of them. But let's say, for less experienced owners who are perhaps, setting up their first business, or they're a couple of years into their first business or first year even. I mean, what would be, some of your wisdom and advice, that you could give them that you've learned over the years, having done this several times? Couple of things.
I think, be supportive, be open, make decisions together, have that open door policy where people can come and tell you how they feel and why. But also, if you need to have tough conversations, which you think are going to be tough because you don't want to upset anyone, and if you do it in the right way, then tough conversations are not really tough.
Yeah.
So if you've got integrity and respect and trust, then the rest should follow okay. But I suppose that's how I would answer that question, really. Don't know whether it does, but...
Well, no, I think it does. And it's interesting you talk about tough conversations, because it is something that many owners, perhaps will shy away from, because the reality is that a lot of the people perhaps who are setting up or have set up businesses, have been very successful as billers and perhaps think, well, I want to go and do this for myself, but haven't necessarily, gone through, probably many of them certainly haven't gone through the kind of, corporate training and background that I went through in terms of management and leadership training and everything else. And then suddenly, as you're growing, you're hiring and you're finding that you've got to manage people, but you don't necessarily have that foundation of training to fall back on. And so I think that's where some of those tough conversations get avoided. And you just hope that things will get better, but we know that doesn't always happen. But just thinking about, perhaps people who are setting up a recruitment business. I mean, for you as an MD, what would you say then are, some of the qualities and skills required of a successful recruitment company?
Make sure you're a trained psychologist, a trained social worker, a trained marriage guidance counsellor, a therapist. No, right. Oh, no. You have to be good at psychology, even though you're not trained. You have to be very humanistic. You have to try and appear to be calm. And that's a difficult skill, to not react, be balanced, trust your people. But you have to coach and develop, and coach and develop isn't easy, but it's key. And not everybody wants to be coached. And people, a part of coaching and development, there is an element of feedback, and it's how you get your people to take their feedback as a gift, because it's to get them where they would like to be. And if it's ultimately to get them placements and to manage the clients better and manage the candidates better, then why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
As the individual, but it's how I land it is the key. Because human beings are very sensitive and edgy and touchy. And so it's getting them to understand why you're doing what you're doing and to have an open conversation. And sometimes we probably talk too much and don't listen enough. So you have to try and do that. Not everybody thinks like you or acts like you. 75% of the world isn't like me.
No.
And that's a hard lesson to learn, because probably that's why I do what I do and they do what they do. And often people will say, what do you think of this and what do you think of that? And I'll say, well, what do you think? And what do you want to do? And try not to tell people what to do, because that doesn't work, by the way.
I know. I think one of the harshest lessons, I had many, many years ago, gosh, as a rookie coach, working with salespeople, God, I was only 24, but I kind of thought, well, I've been given this role. And so I've been given this role because I've been doing really well. So if I've been doing really well, then surely other people will want to know how I've done really well. So I'll tell them how I've done really well. Yeah. It doesn't quite work like that, does it? I think at least I learned that lesson super early in my career. But yeah, it always makes me kind of like cringe and smile at the same time when I think back to those days. So people management, people leadership, developing them, coaching them, managing them. It's that whole people side then, isn't it, that you're zoning in on, in terms of if an owner who wants to build a team, if they want to be really successful, it's about that people side, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't give people targets. I ask them what they would like to do, how they would like to get there, how much would they like to earn, what type of client portfolio would they like, what type of size of team would they like, what's their personal professional goals over the next 1, 3, 5, and 10 years, and how would they like to incorporate that within the business?
Yeah.
And I think, so I don't set targets, they set their own. And I ask them how they're getting on and how I can help and support them.
Yeah. I imagine, though, if you think that they're setting their targets a little bit lower than perhaps you think they're capable of.
It's always higher.
Is it?
It's always higher.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's how you then
manage that, or want them to realise it. Well, that's a positive, because I have seen the reverse at times in my life as well.
The under-promisers and over-deliverers, they're great, them, aren't they? The under-promisers.
Yeah.
Well, if you're on a realistic even keel, then it's just about shaping what somebody wants to do, and are they thinking about it properly, really?
Yeah. And so when you think about your career and your success and everything, for you, what would you say have been some of the most pivotal decisions that you've made that's positively impacted the business?
I think it's making sure that your clients understand that they are important to you and you can make a difference, and it's constantly working at building that relationship. And I think there's lots of existing business, which is new business within existing business, that people don't get because they don't ask questions. And they don't ask, because they don't ask questions. They don't always say what else they can do. If they're doing a certain segment for a certain client, they think that's all that there is. So if you go an inch wide and a mile deep, that's key. I think some of the lessons learned are make sure that you grow in other areas while you've got an established client base, and you don't rest on your laurels, because we've had some big contracts really that the clients have moved away from, not moved us from. The client didn't get the contract that they thought they would get, and we've had to reset. So I think, the development of our other sectors has helped us, because we're developing into engineering, property, office and commercial, and we're at the core of a health and social care business, but we want to grow into be a leading multi-sector consultancy in the next 5 to 10 years, you see. And so doing that has helped us really.
Yes. So don't have too many eggs in one basket. Make sure that you're not got too much business from too few clients, that you keep whatever size you are. You don't have to be multi-sector, do you? But to take that principle, to keep building. I talk about it as keep building the size of the pond that you're fishing in, and that can be in one sector. You can look at mini verticals within that. But just keep expanding that client base within that sector as well.
Yeah, and I think doing that is key. And we've made a decision to get on the framework. So that's another big part of our business. So that's public sector, and we've decided to go down that avenue, which could gives us lots of opportunities. So we've gone from. So we've got some big contracts. We should have, expanded further, faster, earlier, but we've now done that, and we've gone down a route of the public sector route. And again, that makes us more things to more men. But I do want to be a one-stop shop for our clients from an agency perspective. And we might think of looking, moving into contract recruitment as well as temps as we grow as well.
Yeah.
But we're a permanent recruitment business at the minute.
At the moment, yeah. And so if let's say a new business owner or an existing business owner for that matter were to say to you, okay, what is your one bit of advice that you would give, another business owner? What would that be? Somebody who's wanting to, grow a business, doesn't matter what size, what would that one bit of advice do you think be from all your years of experience?
You don't have to pick up every opportunity that is put in front of you or given to you that you can go out and get. It's about making sure it's the right client for the right reasons that maybe align to your values,
Yeah.
And there's no harm in walking away and saying, it was great to meet you. Not sure you're for us. We'd like to do this with you. You know, have a think about it. You know, we're not sure we're a good fit for you because of this, but we could be in the future. Or, you know, get what you're saying, Mr. Client, but actually we're going to focus our efforts and areas on this. So there's no harm in walking away.
No. Yeah. I like that. It's like, you know, having the confidence to just sometimes say no. You know, you don't have to work with everybody. Everybody's not going to be in a fit and a match, and that's okay, because there are plenty of businesses out there that will be a fit and a match for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
But while you're considering that, you know, do be careful having a number of volume recruiters at a lower percentage, because how do you get the best candidates?
Yes.
And that's what we want to talk to you about today. So, you know, you can still keep an open mind with these guys, and, you know, we might be a right fit in the future, but it's about how, you know, it's how I teach the people, isn't it? What's in there? How do we get it down on paper and train it in, coach it, and confidence build it? That's the key if you want to grow.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about me, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, it would collapse if it was all about you, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be here because you wouldn't be well, and you wouldn't have a happy wife either. So, listen,
true.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been really good just listening to you, you know, talk about your experiences, and you're very passionate about what you do as well, and I think that's great. So thank you for sharing, and I will look forward to seeing you hopefully in person pretty soon.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thanks for your time.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Ged.
See you later. Bye.